Hi, Autumn here. Welcome to my studio. Today, I'm going to be working on this constellation painting with lots of stars while I talk, and wanted to share I'm currently reading Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo for the first time. It was recommended by my husband, and I kind of steered clear of it after I finished the long series, but that was years ago, and I figured I'd give it a try, see how it is. So let's get started. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the novel I've been working on and stories within stories and behind stories. So for the past 3 years, I've been working on a fantasy novel, and I am super excited to begin querying and submitting it to publication. I just finished editing the journal entries for the story. I really enjoy stories where there's either a past that's being explored or a type of journal, and then there's the current events, and the two kind of meet up at some point. But in between, you're really wondering and curious how it got to the point that it is in the current part. So my novel does feature some secret journal entries. I also explore multiple origin myths for the village that have been warped by time. In my artwork as well, I love to explore narratives and stories and hidden stories, or things that hint at stories larger than what is able to be shown, like little glimpses. And it was really satisfying to actually get to sink my teeth into a story and fully flesh out everything, instead of in a painting where I feel like you're just kind of capturing a moment of a story or a hint of it. So, creating a novel versus creating a painting. For a painting, I begin with a sketch and a concept and focus on which emotions I want to evoke in the piece. Then I just keep painting, tinkering, kind of respond to how the painting is going and work on it until it loses its energy and feels finished. So, it's a pretty intuitive process. For a novel, I feel it's much more technical, because not only do you have to create the story, but there's also chapters, grammar, plotting, on all those parts, the characters, the emotions, the actual storyline of events, and you have to mesh them all together in a meaningful but also a way that makes sense. And I'm still very slightly tweaking my novel, and so far it hasn't had the feeling of losing its energy or that it's finished. So I'm just kind of going with that based on how I work at paintings. But also, I feel like it's a process that needed a lot more feedback to see if what I was trying to convey was actually coming through. Timeline. A painting usually takes about 2 weeks to complete. That depends largely on the amount of time I have to work on it. Obviously, I'm not working on it all day, every day, just a few hours in the evening. And it depends on the size and complexity of the painting as well. As far as process goes, I found that I tended to write in a similar fashion to how I paint, which is working at everything all at once to different degrees. I gave myself permission to work on the novel in a non-sequential order, and I think this is what really allowed me to push through any writer's block and actually finish it. Before, when I'd written, I'd always start at the beginning and then just kept writing, and if I got stuck, sometimes it was really hard to get past that. This time I wrote it scene by scene and allowed myself to write whichever scene I had thought of or skip around if I was stuck on one scene, and this allowed space to resolve things, also come up with more nuance or more imaginative ways at things I hadn't originally even thought of. And because I knew the overall shape of the story, this worked. It might not work for every project, but this was really helpful. I didn't feel like I had to finish one part before I moved on to another. I could always come back to it, fix it, and just go from where I was at, or which scene was really drawing me to write at that moment. Another method I used from my painting is being open to change and what the story was telling me that it needed. Because in painting isn't like a coloring book. You know, you respond to what's happening, you adjust based on the flow of the paint. There are happy accidents, surprises that make your painting stronger that you didn't even intend for, or maybe didn't even do. Maybe you just found them and kind of heightened them or drew them out. And applying that to writing the novel allowed the story, I feel, to become much stronger than maybe if I just plotted everything out and strictly adhered to that. Oh, I did outline and I knew the overall feeling of the story I wanted to create and the resolution. So those things remain true, but the how shifted throughout, and hopefully it's resulting in an interesting, strong story. Drew on a lot of Borinquen folklore, and it is a fantasy novel, but I mean, I'm painting a winged girl in celestial starry night, so of course it was going to have fantasy fairy tale elements. And I feel like I'm rambling a bit now, so let's see. Anything more meaningful to add? I guess if you're watching this video, leave a comment with your thoughts. I'm just sort of trying this thing out where I'm talking about writing while painting because, you know, I really don't want you to just stare at my face. Subscribe if you want to hear more, and I look forward to what the new year has to bring.